Did you see the new Tom Cruise movie where he's a Navy dentist fighting plaque?
I haven't.
Top gums. Woo! Welcome back to a Friday edition of Zero Blog 30. It is myself, Kate, and we got Captain Cons with us. Chaps is out today because you know what? He's been here for like 500 something episodes. The man's allowed to have a day off or two, I say. I'll allow it.
I feel like he's definitely taken, if we look around the room, I've probably taken the most. Classic officer.
Yep.
And then you've taken some days because you had to have a baby.
Ripping my taint. Right.
Yeah, he's definitely taken the least amount of time off away from the show. So he deserves it.
So, but we are making sure he stays within the 96-hour radius. He's only allowed to travel 250 miles in any direction. He's got to check in with us. And we did check his vehicle to make sure that it was safe to drive before anyway, it's a Friday. We're rolling into a Friday. I'm feeling good as per usual. I'm prepared to get home from work today and treat myself with a little bit of Whistle Pig whiskey, my friends. Whistle Pig's Piggyback. And this is perfect for the military too, because what do you say at the end of the day? Can I piggyback off that real quick?
Oh, yeah.
This is the good version of Piggyback. It's made with 100% rye whiskey for bold, full spice flavor. It is aged for 6 years and has a high 96.56 proof. 6 years it's aged. That's a staff NCO at this point. That's a seasoned, fantastic member of the whiskey world. It's first 100% rye whiskey, perfect for sipping and mixing. Trust us on this one. It's truly 100% of the good stuff. We've said it again and again. Chaps was onto this and telling us about this long before they were a sponsor. He got me drinking Whistle Pig long before they were a sponsor. And when we found out they were a sponsor, we were over the moon because it meant we were going to get more Whistle Pig, which is quite frankly a treat. How do you drink yours, Cons?
I just drink mine on the one big sphere ice cube.
Yeah,
so on the rock. But then when I'm drinking the what are we calling them? The ones you like to drink.
Rye smash.
The rye smash. Yes. Yep. That goes with ice, a tall glass of ice. That's how I like to get down with that one.
Yeah. Piggyback for me. I'm drinking my Whistle Pig Piggyback on the rocks. It's delicious. It's an old fashioned or a whiskey ginger. And you have people over if you want to be fancy. The little twist of the orange peel, fantastic. You can't go wrong. Get your own bottle at shop.whistlepigwhiskey.com or at a local retailer. And let me piggyback on this for a second, Cons. I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it. You're going to want to have some Whistle Pig. All right. Moving into the episode. It's a Friday. Okay. We're feeling good.
Okay.
I thought I would break the ice up a little bit.
Okay.
With a couple military jokes.
Ooh, these are going to be good. I can already tell. I can feel
these are going to be good and not terrible in any way. Okay.
Yes.
This thing on?
Yes, here we go.
What kind of mattress does a Marine sleep on?
What kind?
A Semperpedic. My friend asked why I would not tell him my military rank. I told him it's private. Which branch of the UK military is in charge of giving the Queen haircuts?
I don't know. Who?
The Royal Hair Force.
Of course.
I wrote this next one. I hope you like it. Did you see the new Tom Cruise movie where he's a Navy dentist fighting plaque?
I haven't.
Top gums. It's not great. Why did the sailors not play cards? Because we're always playing spades, we're always playing games. The captain was sitting on the deck. My cousin said he joined the military just to spite her parents. She was a petty officer, I guess. You know what I mean? Woo! Friday.
Good question.
Sure.
Do you think you unlocked part of your brain when you became a mother? They have like dad humor, mom humor. Do you think you were able to do that?
I think it was I think I always had it because I had a dad that was very much a dad joke dad. So I'd be like, Dad, I'm hungry. Nice to meet you, hungry. I'm Joe. Like that kind of guy. Who you're like, okay, come on. What the hell? He would always have like, here's a riddle for you. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? And like, 8-year-old me is like, well, who? He's like, well, Grant. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks, Dad. I'm an idiot. So I definitely always had the parent joke vibe.
Yeah.
And I just love that shit. I
You
used
come-
to tell.
You come from good parent joke stock, very, very apparently.
I do. What kind of pants does Mario wear?
I don't know what kind.
Denim, denim, denim.
Yeah.
I used to tell that one in the smoke pit all the time.
Oh, and did you ever not get a laugh? My guess is no.
Oh, many times I did not get a laugh. I mean,
Oh.
it's brutal. It's a tough crowd. And that's what the whistle pig is for. That's why you got a couple sips of
Loosen
whistle
them
pig,
up.
loosen everybody up. That's why we did the ad first. Then I told the jokes. Now we're rolling into the rounds. Round number 1, we talked about weird barracks pets last week. And people from snakes to lizards to ducks. There was a gaggle of ducks. And this week we bring you the fascinating tale of Ming, the New York City Tiger, who lived in a small apartment in Harlem. Because isn't New York City like one big wacky barracks?
Yes,
You know?
that is actually, I've never heard it described that way, but that's actually one of the best descriptions of New York City I've ever heard.
And we're still smoking all over the place. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Round number 2, an Army chief warrant officer and his wife are accused of stealing over $2 million worth of military gear, which only confirms my suspicions that we never know what chief warrant officers are up to. Those mysterious fucks.
Mm-hmm.
The unicorns of the military. Nobody knows what that rank is, what they're doing, what it means.
No, but
We'll never have one on the show.
no, you know what? That should be, but as you say that, that's our
But wait
next
a
round.
minute.
I'd love to have this chief warrant officer on the show.
That's right. We're going from a bad chief warrant officer to a good one. Round number 3, our beloved chief warrant officer, Bobby Yarbrough. He's basically the Parris Island PR guy who roasts dickheads online like an absolute grill master, this guy. And folks, he's at it again as people lose their minds over Pride Month and that we're celebrating it in the military because face the facts, we have a ton of wonderful people from every background, every vibe, everything in the military. We're going to celebrate him this month. Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough. Round number 4, Badass of the Week, a legend of the EOD. It's a bomb tech for those who don't know. He retired. I say that people are like, well, who doesn't know EOD? I've been getting a lot of DMs lately from civilian listeners, and they always preface it. Hope it's not weird. I listened to ZBT, but I never said blah, blah. It is not. That was one of the main hopes of this show when Chaps created it, was for anyone to listen and enjoy it and to feel like it's almost like a VFW kind of vibe for everybody. Sit back, have a whistle pig, enjoy, hang out.
When we first started, before we really got out there, our audience was coming from Barstool. So in the beginning, the large portion of our audience was civilian.
Yeah. And I hope that's still a big part of it for sure. I've been getting DMs recently more than usual from people saying, oh, sorry, I'm a civilian. Don't say sorry. I'm so glad you're listening. So an EOD, a legend of the EOD world, retired last month. And we're going to share a few of his stories because my God, what an impressive person. I read this article about him and I felt ready to run through a brick wall when I was done. I'm very much the kind of person who I roll my eyes at moto stuff sometimes, blah, blah, blah. But then you read these stories of actual things people have done in our military that just, holy fuck. So I hope everybody else wants to run through a brick wall straight into the weekend when we get done with that round. But first, before we get into it, got a little bit of searching for an ad read. I better hurry up and be faster than a NASCAR, cons. A NASCAR weekend in wine country is the best place to watch the best drivers in the world at one of the premier motorsports facilities in America. This might be the classiest NASCAR event possible. This is right up your alley, by the way. This could not be more up your alley. Sonoma Valley.
Wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? Who's going from Barstool this weekend?
You're going. Yes.
I
Are your
am.
khakis all ironed out?
Oh, we're going to be stunned on all the haters.
Shined up?
Oh my gosh.
We'll have to talk
so
about
many
this
loafers
again.
are going to be worn.
Great views, great wine, and world-class racing you can't find anywhere else. It's a road course dishing out 12 turns that each provide a unique challenge for drivers. I'm sorry, I don't care how classy you are. I don't care if you have a $500 Merlot in your glass. You're fucking pumped when there's a crash. I'm going to say it. When everyone's okay, but there's a little bit of a fireball that comes up, whatever. 12 turns. So you're going to want to watch this one. High speed corners, left and right turns, bumps and breakings, and legendary passes. Let fans have 110 laps to take in all the action with the NASCAR Cup Series race. June 12th, my friends. Barstool's own Casey, Kelly Keegs, Large, and Spider, some other guy, are headed out.
Wow, I didn't make the ad read. This is bullshit.
Oh, God. And Cons, some other guy. You're on the ad read. I may have left you out on purpose out of spite. Be a little petty officer over here. Watch the race on Sunday. The action is unpredictable. It's first time edge of your seat action that you can only imagine as the best drivers in the world battle it out to be named the champion of wine country. And if you're out in that area, you can still get tickets now, sonomaraceway.com. But be sure to tune in to the NASCAR Cup Series from Sonoma Raceway this Sunday, June 12th, 4 p.m. EST on FS1. Pop open a bottle of, I would say, Whistle Pig, my friends. Grab your giant circular ice cube, put in some Whistle Pig, and watch the NASCAR Cup Series this Sunday, June 12th, 4 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Are you excited to go?
I'm so pumped for a few reasons. I mean, number one, the folks at NASCAR are so hospitable and nice to us. Whenever we've done anything with NASCAR, they really roll out the red carpet. We've gone to races CBT has together, and it's just been, I mean, they give us access.
Never had a bad time.
No, it's awesome time. So I know, firsthand that the NASCAR is going to take good care of us. They have a whole schedule for us on Saturday, all these different vineyards and stuff that we're going to. And I think I'm also interested because obviously I've been to Charlotte and I've been to Daytona, which is just the circular track. I'm kind of interested to see what the road course is going to look like.
Yeah.
It's so different. And then, I can't complain. There's going to be some nice wine flowing. So
yeah, the duality too, like Sonoma wine race. And then I'm picturing me tearing my shirt off at Talladega and whipping my bra into a crowd at like 2 a.m. on some guy's RV.
Yeah.
Hot patooties. That's when my boobs were still pert. I just need to remember that there was a time when that was a thing.
Yes. Yes, indeed. So I'm looking forward to it. So if you're out there, come find us. Me, Large, Kelly, KC, Spider.
Yeah. Hit them up in the DMs. EBT representing there. Round number 1. And so I saw this. I loved the round we did the other week about weird animals and weird stuff going on in the barracks because the stories from that are endless. I saw our own Eddie from Barstool Chicago tweeting about this today. I looked it up and I was like, wow, this is kind of the civilian version of a barracks pet type thing. Ming, had you ever heard of Ming the Tiger? Because you're from this area.
No, I haven't.
So let me preface this. New York City. 8.83 million people live here within 5 boroughs. So in 302 square miles, that's per square mile. That's 27,000 people per mile, just about. Our subway system has 248 miles of track with 472 station stops. So you can get anywhere. There's a billion different people at any time just zigzagging all over the city. And it kind of allows for crazy shit to go under the radar. Like something that might stand out in suburbia, nobody blinks at here. I've stood next to a guy jerking his dick off and been like, have a good Tuesday. Like you feel nothing. The
stuff you see on the subway, everyone in New York is just so trained to be head down. Like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever.
Have a good one.
Yeah. People pulling their pants down and
I smoked next to a lady taking a shit outside the office a couple years ago. And I was like, all right.
All right. Have at it, lady.
Yeah,
cool.
Have a good one. Whatever. But you're right. Kind of desensitizes you. And even then when you're like something that would get reported in the suburbs, like in 2 seconds, will get overlooked to a crazy degree here because we're just so used to it. It's part of the beauty of like a lot of people are like, oh, New York sucks. To me, that's part of the beauty of it. You could be a total freak and nobody bugs you. You're just like cruising along. Anyways, this is a random fun fact too. Have you ever heard of the New York City Subway Challenge?
No.
People try to see who can ride all 248 miles of our subway lines the fastest. So more than 70 people have tried it. Kevin Foster held the Guinness World Record for a full system ride for over 17 years. It took him 26 hours and 21 minutes in 1989.
That's a little ridiculous because I'm just thinking about you'd have to have a really concise plan.
We need a couple logistics officers too.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see the route he took. I'm sure we can look that up.
So long story short, New York City, like it is crazy. Like we are right next to this office is right next to the flower district where all the wholesale plants come in to go everywhere to the city to apartments. And it's like, it truly is a concrete jungle. You're like weeding your way through vines and trees and shit that are crammed on the sidewalk of plant. Whatever. I'll get to the point. Barracks pet. This was the city's barracks pet. And the craziness of New York City is pretty much what allowed this to happen, I feel like. In April of 2000, Antoine Yates, he's a 31-year-old part-time taxi cab driver, and he lives up in Harlem, very top of Manhattan. He purchases Ming, an 8-week-old Siberian Bengal tiger hybrid from an animal park in Minnesota that clearly fucking sucked because they're just selling their tigers off. Anyways, Yates lives with all sorts of animals in apartment 5E of the Drew Hamilton houses, a public housing complex, for 5 years. And these apartments are not large. They are not big spaces. You don't got a lot of room to move around. Maybe a couple rooms, very small, very cramped. Yates left the apartment only once a day for an hour to purchase food. In an interview published in 2020, Yates clarified that he had first purchased a Jabba, a lion cub which passed away at a young age. Then he purchased Ming and Nemo, another lion cub, as a pair. Nemo was included, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, he has an alligator in his apartment too. He only winds up with Ming. Ming's existence became known and reported in the media after Yates was taken to the Harlem Hospital Center in September of 2003 with bites on his arm and leg. He is in the hospital telling nurses and doctors, I was attacked by a pit bull. The medical staff are looking at him going, no, it looks like a dinosaur attacked you. What the fuck is going on? These bite marks are way bigger than anything a dog could ever do. So finally, it's an animal with a much bigger jaw. Yates said that he was bitten while trying to keep Ming away from Shadow, a cat he recently adopted. So he brings a cat in to meet Shadow. Ming begins chasing Shadow because, of course, Yates jumps in front of Ming, who bit and clawed Yates multiple times as he wrestled with the tiger. After Ming finally closes his jaws on Yates's knee, Yates recalled, that had me going through flashes of life. I was like, oh my God, guess this is where I die at. Yates declined to call it an attack, saying it was just a natural reaction of Ming's frustration. I'm walking around, I'm still alive. You can't even tell I got bit by a tiger. He's saying, this is fine. Everything's fine. Everyone's overreacting. On Thursday, October 2nd, police received an anonymous tip that there was a large wild animal that was biting people. The same anonymous person followed up the next day, providing the animal location, Yates's apartment. So now it is abundantly clear it was a tiger in his apartment, and that's why he was bit. Yates checked out of the hospital that very same day, and following up on the tips, an NYPD officer was sent to his home address. Imagine being that cop.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're taking off the traffic beat today. You got to do a tiger check.
You got to do a health and welfare check. We got where there's a tiger living in somebody's apartment.
Yeah. Loud growling noises could be heard through the door of the apartment, and the officer declined to enter. The NYPD, that has to, as a first responder, animals has to be a huge issue. Like, you want to rescue somebody, but there's like a rabid dog in the apartment who's like, I didn't even think about that. The NYPD Tech Assistance Response Unit drilled holes through the neighbor's walls and used a camera on a pole to locate Ming. Martin Duffy, another police officer, was sent to the roof, in which he abseiled on a rope sling through the apartment's windows. And there is this famous photo where this officer is holding on to a rope right in the window as Ming, this giant fucking Bengal tiger, is up in the window. Like, so Ming roars at Duffy, who then fires a rifle with a tranquilizer dart prepared by the city's chief veterinarian. Didn't know New York City had we also have beekeepers, New York City beekeepers. Now, you know, after being darted, Ming charged at the window from which Duffy had fired, breaking it. So he's dangling from a rope. The tiger breaks through the fucking window. Thank God it doesn't get to him. And then the medicine takes control and Ming falls asleep. It takes 6 men to carry Ming down via elevator to a waiting truck. The team also discovered Al, a 5.5-foot alligator that Yates had been raising in another bedroom. Yates was later located at a hospital in Philadelphia and placed under guard. After Ming was discovered in his apartment, questioning of the neighbors determined, oh yeah, everybody knew that he had a tiger in his apartment. Yates regularly bought large quantities of raw chicken at the local supermarket, and the standing joke in the neighborhood was that he could eat a ton of chicken. Like, there goes Yates. He's just old
Yates eating his raw chicken again.
By 2003, the year that this all went down, Yates was feeding Ming 20 pounds of chicken, livers, and bones per day. The downstairs neighbor was aware that Yates owned many animals. And this obviously housing authority rules say you cannot do this, but everybody knew. And the neighbor added it wasn't a problem until the summer of 2003 when she opened her windows for the first time and found her windowsills soaked with urine accompanied by a heavy animal odor. Yates had also taken roommates who were first unaware of the animals in the home. In New York, you're always desperate to find housing. Like I remember my first place that I lived here when I moved to Queens was a sunroom with a shower curtain door. My second place was the size of a closet and had no windows and like 4 other roommates who whatever. Yeah, it's tough. So you move into any first spot and the next thing you know, there's tigers. A woman who shared a Harlem apartment with the 425-pound tiger said she was terrified at first, but soon got used to living with the tiger. And a bunch of people were saying like, yeah, we all knew, but this neighborhood, we all became family. Like nobody cared. Here's where it gets dicey. Here's where you should care. Yates was arrested on charges of reckless endangerment and possession of a wild animal, and his mother was charged with endangering the welfare of a child since she had been babysitting kids in the apartment. So parents are dropping their kids off with no idea that this woman's son has a Siberian fucking tiger running around the place that is clearly violent. He was released after serving 3 months, and subsequently he sued New York City for the loss of his pets that also included a rabbit for $7,000 cash. The judge dismissed the case, calling him full of chutzpah. Like, good luck, buddy. Long story short, Ming was sent to Noah's Ark Animal Sanctuary in Ohio, and Al was given a new home in Indiana. And Ming lived in Ohio, swimming and running and having all the room in the world until he died in 2019. Around 2010, Yates said he lived in Nevada near Vegas with 22 big cats, including 4 tigers, having redubbed himself Antoine Tigerman Yates. I found his Instagram page. Every other post is either a tiger or a huge stack of money or a fancy watch or him sitting in a car with butterfly doors. Just seems like an enormous piece of shit. But a character nonetheless. I don't know, Cons, if you can see the photo of Ming leaping up against the window as an NYPD guy with a trank gun is holding onto a rope. Just an absolutely absurd story.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few things to unpack here. I mean, number one, the start of the story is part of New York City's charm, right? You can go out at really any time of the day and find pretty much anything you need, apparently to include wild animals that have no business being in Manhattan. Yeah. Where a wild tiger came from, we'll never know. But also, I don't really kind of bat an eye at it. It doesn't surprise me that this all happened. Number two, dude, tigers get up to like 600 pounds. And, obviously at the beginning of the pandemic, we had the Tiger King or whatever. And we see these people who are fascinated by wild animals. And I get the fascination, but also I think they never go that step further to say, oh, wait, it's still a wild animal and could really inflict a lot of harm and possibly just kill me.
Like, I think people who do that feel like they have a magic touch. Remember that documentary about the guy who lived in Alaska amongst the bears?
Yeah.
What was that called? And like, he felt he had a special connection with them that other people didn't. So that's why he could do it. And then surprise, he got eaten by a bear.
Right. So that's why, I think like these people, like they're disturbed in some way, because if you think, one, that you're not going to get attacked by a wild animal, that's one thing. But two, the fact that you think it's okay in a New York City apartment to keep these animals, like, it'd be one thing to keep them in a house, but to keep them in an apartment and never go outside, like that's so cruel to do to the animal. So yeah, it's almost contradictory, right? Like you say like, oh, I love animals and I want to have so many animals. He's living like freaking Ace Ventura up here in Harlem, when in fact it's terrible to do to these animals.
Yeah, it's just crazy. But I thought it kind of reminded me of a barracks pet, but to a more extreme level.
Very much extreme.
And just a little bit NYC goof in there. So I thought that would be a good round one. As a follow-up from the other week. Round number 2. We got some shady chief warrant officer activity going on. This comes to us from military.com. Steve Bainon. A husband and wife, both serving at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, are accused of using their positions to steal, resell, and keep more than $2 million worth of Army gear, including weapon parts, vehicles, and a sword. You're not a military member if you don't get suckered into getting a sword at some point. We all... And
even if you don't, a friend who had a sword.
Everybody, you at least knew some. You were always like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Moto sword. Somebody had one. Yeah. Prosecutors claim that Chief Warrant Officer 3 Christopher Hammond, who serves a B Company, blah blah blah, and his wife Major Heather Hammond carried out at least a 4-year scheme ordering gear through official Army channels meant to supply units, but diverting it to sell or use for themselves. I don't know if they like created their own fake unit and shit was just getting sent to it in bulk. Like, I don't know if they set up a fake address somewhere or like what the deal was.
My guess is they were putting in real unit name, but knowing full well where it was going to get delivered so they could intercept it and it wouldn't actually make it there.
Yeah, the pair were arrested Monday and are awaiting a court date. Prosecutors say the pair jointly moved $1.8 million in profits through multiple USAA and Schwab brokerage accounts, some of which were in Heather Hammond's names. Cross-country mortgage would never, they would never do such a thing. Between December 2018 and this past March, Christopher Hammond obtained lower and upper receivers, gun barrels, gun bolts, and firing pins, which when combined can build a rifle, according to charges. He also obtained scopes, gun cases, and holsters. If you're getting that shit in bulk and sending it out to whoever and doing whatever for profit, obviously, looking at the times, you're an enormous sack. This makes Tiger Guy look fine. You're an enormous sack of shit.
Yeah.
In addition to weapons and accessories for them, Hammond ordered electric guitars, bayonets, a sword, tools, welding gear, gym equipment, night vision goggles, and all-terrain vehicles. This sounds like what Home Alone, what Kevin McAllister would order if he had the chance. If he's home alone, he's like, yeah, electric guitars, bayonets, swords, welding gear, gym equipment, night vision goggles. According to the indictment, which does not specify what specific vehicles he ordered and whether he later used them for himself or sold them. The indictment also did not specify the variety of sword he ordered. Now, I'd like to think it was a fun kind of, you throw fruit in the air and you slice it with fruit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Those viral videos. This also obviously points out that there are glaring loopholes in our military.
Well, like you said at the top of the show, chief warrant officers are very much unicorns in the military.
Magical.
It's very rare. I worked with like one in my entire time in the Army. But because they're so rare and it's like, who do they really report to? And they kind of just do their own thing, that something like this isn't surprising in the least bit. And I bet you, unfortunately, I bet you he was selling it to people just like on the street too. I bet you like, I don't know, like gangs and all sorts of people were buying from him. And he was doing some even more nefarious things than are even mentioned in this article, because clearly he's got no morals.
Yeah, seems like a not great guy. So I'm interested to see what the punishment is going to be for them. And I would like to hear more details. Like, I do want to know, like, where did all those gun parts go? Like, what kind of vehicles? Like, did this guy buy a fucking MRAP or something, or like an old Humvee or what? Like, you know, we have ATVs, we got motorbikes. The military has all sorts of cool ass vehicles. So I don't know. Anyway, interested to see where that goes.
I mean, maybe it's just because I'm right in the midst of watching Sons of Anarchy and they run weapons illegally. So maybe that's where my brain is going, but I'm not surprised at this story at all, because there are definite loopholes in our military. And as long as that's the other thing. He probably never ordered anything in such bulk that it raised any eyebrows, right? He's buying things in parts. So over it's coming unassembled. Yeah. Over years. And you know, it's slowly but surely adding up. So if only he could do his work for good, he'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out that they're going to start to find others doing the same thing. Like, I have a feeling this will lead a trail, and we'll be hearing more about that in the future for sure. That very not good chief warrant officer. Let's chill out for a second before we head to the next one, who's a much better vibe. Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough.
Wait, rounding off round number 3. All right. Just what we know about CWO Bobby Yarbrough. Okay. I don't know what he looks like. Do you know what he looks like?
No, I don't. I feel like
what do you think he looks like?
Chief warrant officers are a complete mystery to me, my friend. Like a unicorn. I think he looks like an actual unicorn, silver fur with a rainbow tail.
Here's what I'm thinking.
A little nozzle in the front.
I'm thinking he's one of these dudes. He looks the part of a Marine through and through, guaranteed. But I also think he's one of those dudes who is like, I don't know, 40, but looks 24 and just has maintained his youth. That's what I picture when I picture Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough.
Oh, yeah. And he has kind of become famous. We've talked about him on the show many times before. We actually have a correspondent, a listener who alerts us every time he's dunking on people on Facebook. but he's essentially the public relations guy for Parris Island.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the comment threads, anytime any of the official military pages post anything, it could be the most innocuous fucking, we're cutting the grass on 3rd Battalion's, whatever. Some old timers like, well, back in my day, pussies didn't cut the grass. We crawled through it with our fucking dicks out in the fucking weeds. And you're like, okay, bitch, calm down. Like, calm the fuck down. And a lot of times, and overwhelmingly, especially like coming from my angle, issues with women, the military is always very silent. Like, social media is an incredibly toxic place in the military. It just is. And more often than not, the military just lets those comments pile up and doesn't say a word. And so I think Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough has become kind of a cult hero, because on the Parris Island official page, he speaks up. He sees a shitty comment and he says, well, actually, you're a fucking moron, but respectfully, as he always says.
Of course.
So yeah. I wanted to give him a shout out every Pride. I think he's been doing this for like 3 Pride months in a row now, because I found some old ones from previous years. And he is a cult, like on Twitter, people talk, like you type his name into Twitter and you see all sorts of tweets about him. My some of the women Marines Facebook pages I belong to, they fucking love him. They're like, look, our guy's at it again. Here he fucking goes. Like, everybody celebrated when he got promoted, like on the page, like everybody loves this guy. So the U.S. Marine Corps did a post that all the different bases official pages shared. Throughout June, the USMC takes pride in recognizing and honoring the contributions of our LGBTQ service members. We remain committed to fostering an environment free from discrimination and defend the values of treating all equally with dignity and respect. Hashtag Pride Month, hashtag USMC. And then it's an image of a Kevlar with the Marine Corps camo pattern. It says proud to serve. And there's a bunch of rounds that the tips of each round, it's a rainbow color. Mm-hmm. At first, everyone thought it was crayons, and it was a joke about us eating crayons, which is fair. That's fair. Mm-hmm. But of course, immediately people lost their minds. Okay. So I'm just going to read a couple of Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough responses. Samuel Wright says he's in a picture with a beer belly and a sports jersey. Classic.
I'm sorry, really quickly. Isn't it always funny though, too? Anytime you see a comment that's just way off base, you could almost guess what the avatar is going to look like.
Oh, almost anytime a guy is a dickhead to be online, I go look at his profile, proud Christian, father of 2 girls. Yeah. I'm like, well, you just called me a cunt. What's up with that? Hey.
Excuse me, sir. That's not very Christian-like.
Yeah. Samuel Wright says, whatever happened to the few that proud the Marines? We old Corps and those even older Corps that meant something. Seems today, sir, in this politically correct society, anybody can join my beloved Corps. Men that like men, women who like women. Hell, if you're a man that wants to be a woman or a woman that wants to be a man, you can join. Again, to each their own. What? We were different than the rest for a reason, and that was a great thing. But now it seems that we just fell in line behind the rest instead of standing alone as our own breed in the front. When did the Corps? He goes on, and it's just bizarre. Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough steps in. Here is the military's oath of enlistment. How does someone's sexuality prevent them from fulfilling their oath? I, Kate, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President and the orders of the officers appointed over me, according to the regulations of the UCMJ, so help me God. Respectfully, Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough, rainbow hearts underneath. And he's right. Volunteering to defend your country, your sexuality has literally like nothing.
Yeah, and I hate to break it to you, Sam Wright, but I don't know what year you served, and it doesn't matter because there've been gay people and LGBTQ plus people in the military forever. It just, it's just different now. Now they're allowed to be open about it. But I guaranteed, when you were changing in the barracks, you probably would have been uncomfortable because there were people there that you didn't agree with. And it's always been there.
Yeah, it's always been there. And the truth is, nobody gives a fuck.
No.
The person on the FET team that I was assigned to Afghanistan, it was just the 2 of us out with these infantry guys. And we were basically like the same like she saw every single, and I don't think she gave a fuck one single time. She wasn't, get over yourself. Uh-huh. Anyway, Justin Smith said, I've got nothing to say, honestly. I just want Chief Warrant Officer Yarbrough to tell me to have a meritorious day. She responded, have a meritorious day. Ed Brown said, this is a sad day. If I could return to my title, U.S. Marine, some of these people don't even make any sense. What happened to united we stand, divided we fall? This political correctness will be our downfall. He says, Ed, this is Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough, we should court-martial people who respect the service of all of our service members. The freedoms you enjoy are currently protected by those serving in the ranks, which includes LGBTQ. You are welcome for their service. So he hit him with a you're welcome for their service. Homedale, Republican Party, said, my Marine Corps has gone woke, God help us. Yarbrough responded, if by woke you mean showing appreciation to a group who's made major contributions, then yes, have a meritorious day. Wait a minute. Master Sergeant Rick Mystic. Ooh. He's got a sidekick now. So wow. Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough, there's a Rick Mystic now.
Great name.
Yeah, and I'll just do a couple more. Lewis Barclay said, why is the Marine Corps singling out any particular group while claiming all inclusiveness? The Corps is choosing to only show some groups. If truly all inclusive, show there is no discrimination against anyone, period, blah, blah, blah. And he says, in the Marine Corps, we treat everyone equally. Field days, working parties, and weekend duties have no room for discrimination. So Yarbrough is saying, like, get over yourselves. Like, we don't care if you're gay or straight. You're fucked this weekend. You've got duty, my friends. Like, we really don't care. Other people, and overwhelmingly, Rudy said this isn't the Marine Corps with a CORP. And he said, you are correct. It's the Marine Corps with an S. Respectfully, Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough. Basically, he goes on, and he takes the time to respond to each person. He and Rick Mystic, which is, I'll say, it sounds like a porn name. But I think it's important for people in the military and civilians to see, like, these are actual Marines giving these responses and supporting and defending our LGBTQ service members. And like, I think we're at the point where don't ask, don't tell. It got repealed in 2011. Like, that was should have never been a thing in the first place. But like, who the fuck is upset about, like, what insecurities do you have that you're still upset about this? Like, what the fuck is wrong with people? I served alongside men and women who came across the whole spectrum of the rainbow, who just did their jobs, and it was never a fucking issue. Like, yeah. I just think this is one of those dog and pony show issues that politicians and people love to throw out there to take away from other things that are really going on. But I'm proud of all of our service members, anybody who volunteers.
Absolutely. And I think these people who are responding, I mean, they're just showing their level of stupidity because they're contradicting their own arguments a lot of times in these comments. They're not even making sense. Yeah. They think they're getting one over on Bobby Yarbrough when in fact they're actually just contradicting themselves. And, you know, I was listening the other day, maybe it was Dave's show or maybe it was but it was Pat and Joey, and they were talking about, they hope that one day, you know, Pride Month's awesome, but they're like, we hope that we don't need to have, like, why should we have to say like, hey, it's okay to be this way? Yeah, of course it is. Why do we have to say that anymore? Like, yeah, everybody's cool. Why do we even have to you know, call it out? And hopefully maybe we'll get there one day, but we're
not even close yet, which is a shame.
No,
so
it is.
I see people like, well, why do they need to be so loud and colorful and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, man, I could see every political belief you have on bumper stickers all over your truck. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. People are allowed to, like, I don't know. It's just bizarre. But anyway.
Well, to your point, Kate, like, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was only repealed 2011. So that's, you know, 11 years ago. Like, we're still in the infancy of the country as a whole, just accepting everybody. There's still, as we see, plenty of racist people, plenty of bigoted people. So they still need to continue to fight this fight, unfortunately.
Yeah. I will say overwhelmingly, though, the comments were positive and people were positive and people were like, yeah. And I think it really does matter, though, to see active duty service members being like, no, what you're saying is not okay. You're wrong. And here's why. Like, here's a couple points to it. Like, that does matter. And I feel like they're a few of the only Marines actually doing that when it matters the most. So I hope that other units and other like official military pages, because it does affect like the vibe of the Corps. It does affect the vibe of the military, which still needs some fixing. The culture still needs some fixing. So I think these guys are a good start to that. And I hope to see more of it. So hope that round was okay. Just kind of rambling off, but I just love we should get Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Yarbrough shirts that just say respectfully
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
All proceeds go to Bobby. We'll send to him. And side note, he has a Yarbrough actual. I think he's on somewhere on social media. Somebody tagged him in something. He said, "I appreciate the tag. I am knife handing my way through Facebook comments currently. It's good to see the same tone isn't reflected on this thread, like people being kind, whatever." Anyways, shout out to him as per usual. Salute to Bobby Yarbrough. All right. This brings us to the badass of the week from Task and Purpose, round number 4, David Rosa. This story, again, it's just incredible. It seems like it's too crazy to be real, but it's real. Yeah. And it's crazy to me that there's human beings out there who are capable of such incredible things. The most decorated soldier in an elite Army explosive ordnance disposal company, that's EOD, the bomb techs, retired last month after a legendary career that included defusing hundreds of bombs, saving the lives of countless service members, receiving the country's second highest award for valor, and nearly dying under fire at least twice. Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Dawson, a member of the 28th Ordnance Company, retired on May 17th after recovering from a gunshot wound he has sustained in Afghanistan in 2019. The bullet left him paralyzed from the chest down, but with the help of physical therapists and his own never quit attitude, he learned to walk again and completed a 3.1 mile unassisted walk less than a year after he was shot and paralyzed. In recognition of his achievement, Dawson became the first Army bomb tech to be upgraded from honorary member of the Ranger Regiment to a distinguished member, which the soldier said was the highlight of his career. I mean, I felt excited when the grunts let me smoke in their smoke pit. I'm like, wow, I'm finally accepted. So I believe that this is a pretty good feeling.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Dawson's career is a microcosm of the unique strains of the global war on terror and EOD in particular. During just 6 years with the 28th Ordnance Company, he deployed to Afghanistan 7 times. 7 times. And it's hard to state how important these men and women were. Did you ever have to call EOD? Do you ever have them with you? Like, yeah. Because hiding bombs was guerrilla warfare that both sides in Iraq and Afghanistan. And one of the main ways to strike out against us was hiding bombs in all sorts of really, really clever ways. And if you didn't have your head on a swivel, your next step could be your last. Like, that is the reality. Every time you went outside the wire, that was the reality of it. EOD troops rendered safe more than 100,000 bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan since 2006. Several hundred of which were defeated by Dawson himself.
That's crazy. That's crazy. It's one thing to defuse a bomb one time or safely detonate a bomb one time. To do it several hundred times, to continue to put yourself, like, it's one thing to go outside the wire and maybe you'll get into, a tick, and you'll exchange some fire. But to have a job where you know that something's going to explode, whether it does by accident or because you do it in a controlled environment, that's crazy to me.
Yeah. And I'm about to tell this story here. We'll end it with this story. But a particularly brutal mission that he did in 2013 exemplifies the kind of person that he was and why he deserves a shout out and all the praise in the world for his service. In October of that year of 2013, Dawson and several soldiers set out to capture a Taliban leader. The threat of IEDs was low, and the leader this was supposed to be an easy mission. And this is why they always tell you, like, war is so unpredictable. You can never count on anything because nothing ever works out the way you think. Upon infiltration, everything changed in minutes, Dawson said. The trouble started when 3 IEDs detonated at the gate of the enemy compound almost simultaneously, including 2 pressure plates and a suicide vest worn by a woman in the compound. 8 soldiers were wounded instantly. A Taliban fighter detonated another suicide vest, killing the team's military working dog, Janny. The blast also seriously injured Dawson in the leg, but he was the only bomb tech on the team, and with pressure plate IEDs surrounding them, Dawson stayed on to finish the job. And pressure plate IEDs, they're underneath the ground. You cannot see them. They do a good job of hiding them. And again, your next step could literally be your last. While soldiers treated their wounded, another string of pressure plate IEDs went off, instantly killing a combat nurse assigned to the team. 2 more soldiers were fatally wounded by IEDs moments later, and another soldier helping evacuate wounded soldiers onto a helicopter was also critically wounded. Dawson established a casualty collection point and began the tedious work of clearing lanes through an IED-infested area for evacuating the casualties. Imagine all that chaos going on around you. It is loud. There is smoke. There is fire. There is chaos. There is blood. There is all, I mean, that scene is almost impossible to comprehend as reality. And now he has to meticulously go up and down, back and forth in almost a grid system to make sure that doesn't happen to anyone else.
Yeah.
So the soldier used his metal detector in his eyes to locate the remaining explosives, and then he used chem lights to mark safe paths. You know those glow sticks that people crack open? That's you use chem lights. But the horror was not over. At one point, a soldier set off a 10th explosive, losing both legs, rupturing one of Dawson's eardrums, and sending even more frags into his body. Completely disregarding his own wounds, because remember, he was wounded in the leg already very seriously. Now his ear is blown out. He's got shrapnel all over his body. He immediately moves to assist the platoon medic in treating Corporal Hargis. Although he was seriously wounded by 2 of those blasts, he stayed on that site for over 2 hours and located 9 other bombs.
That's crazy.
While fewer than 100 bomb techs have served in the 28th Ordnance Company during its decade-long existence, they've carried out more than 5,000 combat missions, according to members of the unit. And this goes to show, too, like, proportionately, the weight of the war fell so much harder on certain groups than anyone else. And to me, it's them. They're the statue holding up the whole world on their shoulders. Like the infantry.
Yeah.
A lot of times the infantry couldn't do shit unless EOD was with them, or missions couldn't move on another inch unless EOD was able to get to them and clear the way for the next thing. Like they were so pivotal. The Times also reported that members of the 28th had to fight to get the same uniforms, body armor, and medical care that the special operators they worked with got. Dawson himself had infections in his arm, and it took him 7.5 months to get a medical appointment at Fort Bragg to pull out the remaining fragments of the bombs from that 2013 mission. It was only when his arm swelled up while preparing for another deployment that they finally gave him the deployment. That's it, fucking insane. It would get real hot, his arm. So I was like, these things are a real issue. They need to come out. The procedure took only 15 minutes, and yet he could have lost his arm to infection because they wouldn't give him an appointment, which, again, looking at what he went through, what the fuck? The EOD tech went on to fight another few years before he was accidentally shot by an American advisor while on a mission in Afghanistan in July 2019. When I was shot, it came in my right arm and came to rest, like fracturing my left shoulder blade, collapsing both lungs, and exposing my spinal cord in the process. A medic saved his life using a chest tube to inflate the soldier's collapsing lungs. I'm thankful to that medic for performing life-saving treatment, which allowed me the opportunity to live despite all odds. And those are the people, too, that horrible things happen. And they're like, well, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for these good things that happen. Like that positive mental attitude is everything. He slowly learned to stand and walk again. And within a year of his injury, he walked 5 kilometers unassisted. He has since walked a 10K, taken part in a triathlon where he swam a 1/4 mile, biked 11 miles, and walked a 5K without help. The key to my recovery was mostly mental, he said. I lost control of everything from the chest down. I essentially had to start over as a newborn in a 33-year-old man's body. Since I'm still trying to relearn everything, I have to keep a positive mental attitude so I can continue to progress. One might think that 7 deployments and recovering from paralysis is enough for one lifetime, but Dawson is continuing to push himself physically and intellectually. The 35-year-old North Carolina resident wants to remain active, said, I enjoy hunting, fishing, hiking, and other outdoor activities that get my heart pumping. Yeah, I feel like after you're an EOD tech for that long, your adrenaline's kind of your guy. In the future, I would like to compete in a mud run. He's also enrolled in college and is looking to help other vets. That kind of outreach seems to be in keeping with Dawson's humble spirit. And this is from Major Stephen Knudsen, the commander of 28th Ordnance. He's a legend in the career field, yet he's such a lighthearted, funny, and genuine person. If there was anyone who's earned the right to be super arrogant or macho, it's him. But instead, you're greeted by a humble guy with a warm grin wearing a cat shirt. And that's too, like, I feel like from the previous round, like all these hardos and all these dickheads and all these like, well, when I blah, 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 like, look at this. There's no need to be that way. Like nobody's questioning your service or any of the things you've done. Like you can just be a good person. Like,
yeah, you don't have to pound your chest and say, look how tough I am. Look at my military service.
Yeah.
You can stand out in a lot of different ways. And most people, like this gentleman right here, I'd venture to say, I don't know him. I'm just going off what we see here in the article. He's not the type that's saying, hey, look at me and look at all the great things I did. He seems like he was the type that just said, this was my job and this is what I elected to do. And I did it.
Yeah. He said he's no different than any other member of the 28th ordinance. And I assure you, he is a huge inspiration to veterans and civilians alike who are going through paralysis injuries, who I can't even imagine. And so to see somebody who is setting goals and accomplishing them and being able to maybe say like, wow, maybe I can do that too. It's a huge deal. It's an amazing thing. I want to say this too. Like, I think I was kind of saying this the other day, like with everything going on in the country right now, it's easy to feel like disillusionment and despair. But when I read about people like Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Dawson, like I always feel hope. Like, wow, these are the kind of people that are serving our country. Like, it's just absolutely incredible, selfless, amazing people. And I'm so proud of that. Like, that's such an amazing thing. So enjoy your retirement. I hope. Yeah. I just
more than earned it. I just thought
that his story needed to be told because he's such an incredible person.
Yeah. That's wild. It's one thing to survive one explosion. It's another thing to survive multiple explosions over the course of a deployment. To survive 10 explosions in one day. Are you kidding me? That's unbelievable. And then, to stay in the fight and continue to do your job when you easily warranted being removed from the battlefield after you got injured with the first explosion. But you're like, no, I'm good. I'll keep charging forward. And to your point, I think by and large, our military is filled with people who are just like that.
Overwhelmingly,
that's the type of person. It's not the type of person that's taking time out of their day to chirp at Bobby Yarbrough because of a Facebook post.
It's just important to remember
people like this gentleman. Yeah.
So that's a good reminder. Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Dawson, check out, look up his name, check out his story. Pretty incredible person. Let's see, what else do we got here, Cons? I'm rolling on through. Oh, you know what else we got?
Just save rounds?
Buddy, we got a boner.
Uh-oh.
We got a boner alert going on right now, and it's all thanks to Roman swipes. They are a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, easy to use, fast-assing. But they do not require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. You never know when you're going to be at a couple bars outside Camp Pendleton. 23-year-old Kate walks up to you, my friends. You never know when that's going to go down. They're super easy to use. Just the swipes out of the packet, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. That's it. I've tried them out on my, on the delicate parts of my wrists. And I'm not going to tell you whether they've ever touched flat, but might have been in there. I'll just tell you, they don't sting or burn or anything like that. Like, they don't feel like anything. They just get the job done. Go to getroman.com/ZBT to get your first month of swipes. I'm on a this is Mike Tyson reading your getroman.com/ZBT to get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan.
Yes,
that's it for me, Connor, Mr. Sonoma Valley himself, heading off to wine country where you will absolutely thrive. Do you have any saved rounds?
Yes, I do. And I'm actually going to turn some things back on you. But number one, yes, very excited to go with this crew. I've been places with Large because Large did, I think it was Daytona. Large was there with us, but I've never traveled with this collection of people. I'm friends with everybody going, but never been on a work trip together. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. Number two, did you happen to hear Matthew McConaughey's remarks in Washington this week?
Yes.
And what were your thoughts?
I think it was very smart of him. He said, which I don't think is controversial at all, we need gun control. I can see me owning guns later in my life and still being like, yes, we need gun control. I feel like that's such a no-brainer statement. You have one small product. I saw somebody talking about the Peloton killed a kid, and next thing you know, they were all recalled, regulations were put in place, like big things changed, blah blah blah, and things changed. Like, why isn't that happening with guns? Like, why are we having kids who can't buy beer able to buy it? So anyway, but he didn't get into all that. He just said, like, this is a time for our country to come together and unify for the most important thing, the kids. Like, there's no sides here. This is just a simple no-brainer thing. I felt like it was could appeal to anybody. I couldn't see why anybody would get upset about it. I felt like it was pretty impassioned and from the heart.
And I think that's the good point to make, is that you look at Matthew McConaughey and you don't look at Matthew McConaughey as a Republican. You don't look at Matthew McConaughey as a Democrat. You're just like, oh, that's that actor. So everyone, I think too many people in the country, it's like, oh, a Democrat's speaking. Well, all right, here are my points that I'm going to say to go against what you're saying. And I'm only listening with one ear. I'm kind of half listening. Whereas with him, it's like, wait, we don't really know how he aligns. So we're just listening to what he has to say.
The sexy guy from those car commercials. I'll listen. All right.
Okay. And so I thought that's why it was impactful. But then it's like, all right, you start the snowball, but now we got to continue to move it forward. And because as impassioned as his speech was and as great as it was, if nothing else comes from it, then it's all for naught. So we got to keep it moving. But also, do people, like, I don't know, politicians, like, they just assume everybody's stupid. The big argument against McConaughey was like people replying with all the movies where he's fired a weapon. It's a movie. It's fake. Like, it's a different argument. Don't be stupid. And then I forget, I should look because I was tweeting about it. The one congressman who said, well, after 9/11, we didn't ban airplanes.
No, but we put a hell of a lot of regulations on flying, didn't we?
So, we did.
Everything changed after that. Everything. So it's bizarre. I've seen some
weird takes. Knows no bounds. It's really.
I get the people criticizing, like, well, you've been in all these movies glorifying gun. Like, I understand that argument, and I think that, but for what I feel like he did a good job. I feel like
I was very impressed by it. And also, he's the type of guy who puts his money where his mouth is. He's actually involved in a lot of efforts outside of just acting that are geared towards helping his communities, specifically in Texas and beyond. So he's the real deal. And then secondly, because I saw you,
I will say, an ugly actor, I'm not listening. Sorry.
Yeah, probably not. It helps. You were commenting, maybe it was the Viva account or maybe it was the main account, your thoughts on the Live golf tour. What were your thoughts? Mm-hmm. What do you think about these golfers going and playing for the Saudis?
I mean, I think anybody can say, I would never, and then try and look at somebody handing you $1 billion. And I feel like, okay, everybody, okay, you're so noble, you wouldn't do it. It's like, all right, I understand the golfers doing it. Ultimately, no. Do I think it's like looking at Saudi Arabia, like, do I think it's moral? No. But do I understand it? Absolutely. 110%. And everybody, we were talking about this on the shows, but it's called like that country sport washes. Yeah. Where they buy all that like F1 racing and blah, blah, blah. Like, they are in control of a lot more stuff than people realize. And people are like, oh, wow, look at this cool thing they did. And so you forget that they're murdery and not so great in human rights and murdery. Treat third country nationals in the country like slaves and blah, blah. You forget all that stuff because that was a cool race you just watched, that kind of thing. So I think this is another part of it. It's basically these sports for them, like the Live League is PR, is a massively expensive PR league for them. And I think it will work. Like, people will watch and be like, wow, that was neat. So, you know.
Would you like to change your answer for how much money it would take for you to go over there? Because you initially said $10,000. So
$10,000 to join the Live Tour.
Yeah, would you like to revive that answer?
That was just a joke I blurted out when they asked me. I'm like, I would do it for 10 grand. And then afterwards I regretted it. So I'm a huge piece of shit. I'm not above being a huge piece of shit.
Okay.
All right. I make terrible life choices.
Yeah. I respect that. I respect that.
What would your price be?
So, like,
Mr. West Point.
Yeah.
But Mr. Who enjoys the finer things in life.
I'm thinking
they've got the cool dune buggies. They've got tigers.
Yeah.
If you want a Ming in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, because these guys are getting not just life-changing, but generationally changing type money.
Mm-hmm. So. Oh, WWE. That's right. Wrestlers get bitched out all the time for going over there doing wrestling events.
They went to Saudi Arabia, so Vince was like the first to do it. Yeah, he had the Crown Jewel event, and if you want to know how much money they're getting, Shawn Michaels, for any wrestling fans out there, vowed after losing to The Undertaker that he would never come out. He came out of retirement bald, looking ridiculous for that money. So if you need to know, you just look up Shawn Michaels bold and you'll understand how much money they're getting.
Yeah. Money can cover a wide array of sins, and whoever Saudi Arabia's little sports washing PR team is, they're doing it up.
That's all I got.
All right. My save rounds, a Marine MV-22 Osprey belonging to the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing went down in a desert in California this past week.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 Marines are confirmed to have been killed. I'm not sure about the 5th. There's been a lot of stories recently of, again, we talk about it all the time, but training deaths, just because, we're not in Iraq and Afghanistan right now, blah, blah, blah. Like, training is so dangerous, and just grateful to all the people out there doing hard work. And my thoughts and prayers with the families and with the Marines that they worked with, who I'm sure are hurting right now. So thinking of them. Other than that, I don't think I have any saved rounds. I'm very jealous that you're going out to Sonoma. That does sound like a hoot. And I'll be sipping Whistle Pig on my patio, my friend. I'll probably put the race on Sunday. Way to chill, ease out of the rest of the weekend. So that's it for me. Nick, do you have any saved rounds?
No real saved rounds. Just going through the birthday gauntlet in my my household right now. Mm-hmm. We got the 9, 10, 11, and the 14th. So it's going to be a long week. I'm on the end though, so I get whatever's left of the cake. So
get the scraps. My
save rounds is I get the scraps for my birthday, which is next week on Flag Day, of course.
Whoa, very nice. Oh yeah, we'll have our big Flag Day episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure. I just bank those views.
I think next week we're going to have some of the Barstool has their summer interns here. And so we're going to be giving them the ASVAB, a little bit of maybe Kate's version of the ASVAB. And I'm going to be doing the military sorting hat, see which branch they would belong into. So we'll see about that. And final thing, again, I was talking about people DMing me who listened to the show earlier. Thank you to each and every one of you. Truly. I think sometimes we do the show twice a week and we get wrapped up in it. And then I get messages and people interacting with the show on social media. And I'm just really grateful for everybody who does. So thank you so much for listening.
That actually reminded me, I just did another show before we recorded, and one of the questions they asked was like, what's like the goal for Zero Block 30 in the future? And part of my response was just that. I think we're on Zoom and it's just
to fly in a jet plane, right? That's the goal.
Well, yes, actually I should have said that. Yeah.
Right.
No, we still need a gosh darn ride in a jet. First and foremost, but we forget, I think sometimes, because it's just us talking on this Zoom, that you forget that there's actually people on the other end that listen.
Yeah.
And that's always kind of weird to me when we get DMs or if people come up to us. It is still weird, even almost 6 years into this.
In a great way.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. I love it.
Whoa, wow. Yeah.
But you forget that it's kind of like also, I view it at least as a responsibility that there are people out there. Yeah, that's a little more serious than you thought. But, there are people that listen. So we got to be mindful of that. But we do appreciate all of you, each and every single one.
Yeah, I guess that's
even the Navy people.
Hold on. How much longer can we? Thank you, everyone, for listening. Anyway,
all right, we're done.
Sound the retreat.